Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Foundry by Forge College. So, if you caught our previous explainer, you know we've kind of been floating up in the high-level conceptual clouds of account abstraction. Well, today, it's time to put on our hard hats. We're moving out of the theory phase and diving straight into the actual nuts and bolts engineering blueprints of ERC-4337. We're going to break down exactly how this machinery works, who does what, and, honestly, why you should even care. Let's get into it.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. We'll be covering the anatomy of ERC-4337, then we'll look at a really handy concert analogy to make sense of it all. After that, we'll walk through the user operation lifecycle, look at some replay protection trade-offs, and finally, wrap it all up with our key takeaways.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the anatomy of ERC-4337, where we meet the cast of characters.
First up on our list is the entry point. You can basically think of this as the protocol-level gatekeeper. It's a single, massively audited smart contract sitting right there on the blockchain. And look, it frankly doesn't care at all about your custom wallet logic. It just provides a single execution entry that enforces strict unbending rules. Things like making sure your nonces progress correctly and that your gas is fully funded. It's kind of like the ultimate completely humorless referee. It just enforces the rules.
Next up is the bundler. This is our off-chain agent. What it does is aggregate multiple user operations into one giant transaction and then tosses it over to the entry point. But, here's the really interesting catch. Bundlers actually front the gas costs out of their very own pockets. And because of this, slightly terrifying financial risk, they perform some seriously paranoid off-chain checks. They absolutely do not want to waste their hard-earned fuel on invalid transactions. Makes total sense, right?
Then we have the account contract. This is it. This is your smart wallet. It completely replaces the traditional EOA, or externally owned account, that you might be used to. The account contract is where all of your beautifully custom logic actually lives. So if you want multi-signature rules or social recovery or maybe some temporary session keys, you encode it right here. It's absolutely the brains of your personal security setup.
Moving on, our fourth component is the paymaster. Now this one is optional. But wow, is it incredibly powerful. It's an on-chain contract that steps in to generously cover gas costs for a user. That literally means the user doesn't even need to hold native tokens to transact. Pretty huge game changer. However, the entry point makes absolutely sure this paymaster has actually posted enough collateral. They can't just make empty promises. They literally have to put their money where their mouth is.
Finally, the thing connecting this whole shebang together is the user operation. Now, this isn't an active moving component like the others. Instead, it's the central unit of work. It's essentially a serialized intent that contains your address, what you want to execute, your gas limits, and your signature. It's the package that all these other actors are desperately coordinating to validate and execute. It's the entire reason they're all working together in the first place.
Because of all this, the system creates some very strict boundaries. There's a totally clear separation between who sets the policy and who actually enforces it on-chain. So your account contract sets the authorization rules, but the entry point is the on-chain protocol that forces everyone to actually play by them. The bundler manages the transport, the paymaster handles the sponsorships. Basically, everyone stays in their own lane, which keeps the whole system incredibly secure.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. Let's look at a concert analogy to really help us understand these roles.
If all that technical jargon is feeling a bit dry, let's picture a concert venue instead. In this analogy, the account contract is the ticket booth. It prints, tracks, and invalidates your single-use boarding passes based on whatever custom rules you, as the event organizer, decide to define.
Then, the entry point is the strict venue gate. It doesn't make the rules, and it definitely does not print the tickets. It just asks the ticket booths to validate a pass before letting anyone physically walk through. And if the booth says no, well, that gate stays firmly locked. No exceptions.
The bundler, in this scenario, is the event shuttle bringing groups of attendees to the gate. And think about it. The shuttle driver wants absolute assurance that every single pass is valid before they put that bus in drive. Why? Well, so they don't lose their own money on gas, delivering rejected customers who are just going to get turned away at the door anyway.
And lastly, the paymaster is like a wealthy event sponsor. They've already pre-deposited collateral directly at the gate to cover the shuttle ride for their VIP attendees. So when the shuttle arrives, the gate simply checks the sponsor's tab, deducts the fare, and boom, the user gets in for free. Pretty sweet deal for the user, right?
All right, let's jump into Section 3, the user operation lifecycle, where we look at the step-by-step execution.
So here is how the atomic lifecycle actually plays out. Step 1, a user submits their intent to the mempool. Step 2, the bundler runs its off-chain checks, verifying signatures and gas availability, and aggregates the valid operations. Step 3, this batch goes on-chain where the entry point validates the operations against the account and any paymasters. And finally, Step 4, if all the checks pass, the entry point executes the call data and meticulously refunds the bundler's gas. But if validation fails, the whole operation just reverts. Simple as that.
By the way, if seeing all these moving parts in action has you itching to actually start coding, just a quick reminder that Forge College offers some truly fantastic, comprehensive Web3 learning programs. Exploring those courses is an excellent way to deepen your engineering knowledge way beyond just a single explainer.
Okay, Section 4. Let's talk about replay protection trade-offs.
Going back to our concert analogy for a second, how do we actually prevent someone from just photocopying a boarding pass and riding the shuttle twice? Well, since the entry point relies completely on the account contract for validation, the actual logic for preventing duplicate transactions, what we call replay protection, lives entirely inside your smart wallet. You're completely in charge of it.
And because you have that control, you face a classic engineering trade-off. You could just implement simple linear nonces that increment by 1 every single time you transact. Now, that's highly secure, for sure, but it does limit concurrency. Alternatively, you could build multi-dimensional nonces. This actually allows several parallel session keys to operate simultaneously. It is absolutely amazing for user experience, but it definitely introduces some wonderfully complex gas accounting. So pick your poison.
Finally, Section 5. Let's wrap up with our key takeaways.
The most crucial takeaway here today is this concept of separating custom policy from strict protocol enforcement. You want to put your authorization, your session keys, and your nonce policies safely inside your account contract. Then you rely entirely on the audited entry point to guarantee the sequencing, the execution, and of course the financial refunds.
With this foundational map perfectly clear, you now know exactly who does what in this system. Just remember, the bundler transports, the entry point enforces, the account validates, and the paymaster sponsors. It's an incredibly well-designed machine once you see all the pieces working together.
To take the next step and translate these blueprints into actual bytecode, make sure you visit forge.college for a massive library of Web3 learning programs. But hey, right before you go, ask yourself this. Now that you have total control over your wallet's logic, what insane, highly customized access rules are you going to build into your account contract? Think about it, keep building, and I will see you in the next explainer.